I warned people when COVID came. Some listened, some didn't. I warned people when we started using the Lodge as a launching pad to educate, inspire, and show people the Q Sciences culture with our Silver Summits. Some groups listened, some groups didn't. Now I'm warning you again. Right now, it's not about how many Zooms you're doing and how many virtual this or virtual that you're doing. It's going to come down to how many individual conversations that you have with people, believe it or not, face to face. So guess what's going to happen if you have to talk to people again? You're going to have to brush your teeth. The reality is, this is going to get back to a human.
Okay, why was he acting like he was a messiah right there? I gave you my warning. Heed my warning or be doomed. Like, chill out, dude. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is G, and on my channel I like to talk about the shady, predatory, and manipulative tactics of MLMs. MLMs are multi-level marketing businesses, but really they are just legal pyramid schemes. People are lured into MLMs with the promise of having time freedom, financial freedom, they'll be their own boss. And even though people go into MLMs hoping to get profit, what often happens is they come out having lost money. The other day I reacted to a Q Sciences opportunity call, and it really got me interested in learning more about this company. I really wasn't comfortable with the fact that the distributor who was trying to sell people on the opportunity of joining Q Sciences and purchasing all these products, she was oversharing too much personal information about herself. I know that that's a tactic that MLMs use. Oftentimes, the distributors are pressured into sharing these personal stories so they can come off as more relatable and so they can have some sort of claim as to why the product is really good, because of course it's not FDA approved, so there's no real medical claims. Anyway, let's go ahead and just jump right into it because I could go on and on and on, but yeah, Q Sciences have been on my brain.
All right, everyone. I'm really excited tonight because we have president of our company, co-owner of Q Sciences, one of my dear friends, is coming on to share with us and pour into us. And one of my favorite things about Jake and him coming on to do this is he brings a decade of experience to the table of doing exactly what we're doing and doing it very successfully. And so I love that he's not one of those owners or presidents who's like the Wizard of Oz and like hides behind the curtain and is not accessible. He shows up for us, and he shows up and trains us and pours into us, and it's just so special. So Jake, I'm excited to see you tomorrow.
He pours into us. I don't know, there's just something like creepy and cringy about hearing that phrase. And I have to admit, the only times that I've heard that phrase about being poured into has been through MLMs. So I just feel like it's another creepy little thing. And the way that she's talking about the president of the company, she's really elevating him to the point where she's making the vibe like, oh, everybody, we need to be grateful for his presence. You know, it's unlike at other companies where the boss is never around and it's like the Wizard of Oz and he never comes out from behind the curtain. But no, we have this amazing person who has 10 years of experience and he's here with us tonight. She's really elevating him and putting him on this pedestal, which just gives me culty vibes from the cult documentaries I've watched, you know, about how all of the followers and the members just see the one leader in this kind of elevated position. But anyway.
Brittany, I'm excited to see Nick tomorrow.
I bet you are.
Is that the same?
Yeah.
I'm appreciative that you're coming to my house because now you forced me to do errands in between all my Zooms tonight.
What do you have to go get?
That's what I'm doing, not what I'm getting.
Oh. Well, my girls.
That means I'm straightening the house because of you, Brittany.
So not only is Jake a
Was there a little flirtation there? I don't know.
friend, but his nanny is watching my kids for 4 days. That is a friend.
Someone asked if my taste is back. Most of it is finally back, actually. Can you believe that? Pretty crazy.
Fair to assume recovering from COVID-19?
But it is so good to see everybody. I'm excited to be on here. And yes, Sarah, it is a good thing. Man, what a crazy time. I don't know how you guys experienced the 4th of July, but where we were in Idaho, it was completely packed. Everything was packed all the time. And I kind of felt like this was going to happen, to be honest with you, as we started seeing in Utah in particular, people started kind of like to rebel a little bit and want to be around people. And we knew that there was going to be quite the opportunity. So before I talk about the opportunity of what's going on, I first want to say a couple of things when I was asked to jump on here tonight. The first thing is, I just want to say thank all of you because it needs to be said that we appreciate how hard all you guys work. Because it's not common right now in the industry as many companies.
That's just common MLM speak right there for we couldn't be so successful and profitable if it weren't for you recruiting all of your friends and family. Keep doing it, please. That's what he's saying. Of course, we have to say thank you for all the hard work you're doing, keeping us rich.
As we've been talking to people in Utah where companies are headquartered, are not doing well right now. And we're just so grateful because they were not prepared with the COVID crunch that happened. And then they saw some growth late last year. And then this year, they've not had the same growth. And we've been very fortunate. And that's solely because of the partnership that we have with the field. And so I want to thank you guys for that because it means a ton. I appreciate the loyalty because there's so many ways that a person nowadays with the internet and the resources that we all have, that someone can actually make money. The second thing I want to tell you is, well,
I feel like that was his way of talking to the followers, talking to the members of Q Sciences and being like, you guys made the right choice. You know, you're with the right company. All these other companies have been hurting because of the pandemic, but not us. We're really profitable right now. He's just really trying to create a sense of everything's okay, everything's good within the company. But the most probable scenario is that 99% of people are not going to be making any money and are actually going to be losing money from being a part of this.
Welcome to summer. Welcome to summer. And I want to let you know that maybe you're in the summertime and you're feeling like maybe you have a big team. Like, where did my team go? Or maybe you have an average sized team and you're feeling like, where did my team go? Maybe you don't have a team yet and you're feeling like, where's my team at? Well, I'm here to tell you that you're not a loser. You are not doing something wrong. And this is a cycle of the year that happens to everyone in network marketing, and it happened to me all the time. And the only thing that you can do is to control your activity. And I know that sounds maybe a little bit cheap or cheesy or cliche, but the reality is if each person was really out there going out and trying to sponsor somebody new in the month of July with all the Olympic cash, it would be a great goal for each person on here to do would be to help them accomplish Build a Pro Executive before the end of the month. And in turn would be triggering you some of that cash because you get 50% of the Olympic cash. But I want to make sure I'm perfectly clear because Just like a few months ago, I sat down with Brittany and a lot of people and told them kind of what to expect in June and July. I'm also going to predict what's going to happen mid-August till the end of November. And that's going to be complete mayhem. If you have been a part of Q Sciences for the end of last year or the first of this year, and you thought what you saw or you witnessed was crazy, well, here's the crazy. Cheers. Because it's going to be tenfold. The reason why it's going to be tenfold is,
I don't know why, but his manner of speaking and weaving together his story, it's kind of funny. There's definitely a storytelling aspect to it. And I think that it goes along with being a salesperson because they are good at sales. They are good at convincing people, persuading them to buy something or do something or think a certain way. That makes them really well positioned to be a part of an organization like this. Anyway, let's continue.
because there's a couple storms that are swirling that are going to play into your favor. The first storm is kids going back to school. Music to my ears. Can I just tell you, the first day of summer when my kids were home, I was just like, why do parents love summer? I cannot wait for you guys to go back to school already. This is going to be amazing. Could I pay the teachers to actually teach you something in the summertime? But on a serious note,
I'm sure he's not the only parent to feel that way because summer can be difficult in terms of having childcare for your child or children. But the way that he said it kind of flippantly made it seem more like he just didn't want to spend time with his kids. Was it because he wants to spend more time on Q Sciences, on the business? And then also, I want to pay the teachers to teach my kids during summer. You could just enroll your kids in summer school. And if it's not offered at their school, just look for a summer school program and enroll them in that. Or yeah, you could just go find it. You know what? Better yet, go pay the teachers. Find a teacher and pay the teacher.
kids are actually really excited to go back to school. In fact, my children are probably going to show Brittany tomorrow night. They are in like their father, and they've convinced me finally to allow them to wear Jordans to school for their casual shoes. And they're already shopping for all their get back to school clothes. Why? Because they felt claustrophobic, that they couldn't hang out with their friends like they wanted to. They had to wear a mask all the time. And now they're back in summer, they're enjoying the activities and memories, but they want to get back to school. I promise you it's going to happen. The second thing, because of that, if you guys have noticed, I don't know if you guys have noticed or have tried to rent a car or gone on a trip as of late, everything is sold out. Well, newsflash, the unemployment rate in our country has stalled, meaning people are not going back to work. So what's happening? People are using credits to go on trips and buy things they should not be buying. So you're probably thinking, why is he telling me this? Because just like the beginning of the pandemic, when I polled a dozen leaders in QSI and Mr. Mark Wilson, and we made some immediate shifts on some gut feelings that my wife and I had, many of you benefited from those changes.
The way he was speaking, it just kind of felt like a sermon or like indoctrination. Like he's just saying things and we're just meant to absorb it. The unemployment rate has stalled. What does that even mean? The unemployment rate stalled? I don't know.
And you guys hit record ranks. You saw Brittany and many other people run their platinum and ruby and emerald and diamond and black diamond. We made some shifts. Well, guess what? We're about ready to make some shifts again. We decided, because what was happening, we moved the convention. The convention was actually supposed to be in the 1st of October. As we sat down as owners, we all went out to dinner. We looked at all the things that were happening. We moved the convention to the 1st of September, right after school got started for many people, because to capitalize on the mental awareness that, oh no, I now have got to pay for all the stuff that's happened all summer. And now I'm back in my routine and there's something I can do. Now, many of you will be thinking, what can I do?
He also sounds like he's tapping into people who are spenders and people who get themselves into debt. And just to be real here, oftentimes people go into debt because they are in an MLM, because after a while they just can't afford paying for the products, paying for the programs, paying for the conferences, paying to maintain the image of what the lifestyle is supposed to look like.
Well, what you can do is plant as many seeds as you possibly can. I have two pieces of advice for those of you who are working your business activity-wise throughout the summer. Advice number one, you've got to have samples. You have to have inventory on your possession all the time, especially the sport drinks. I will tell you, there's a couple new groups that I'm working with exclusively. I'm helping them build, and we are crushing it with Tiger Punch. We're using it all the time. It's a sampleable product. People can feel it right away. And you can have a fun conversation about the way people feel, the immediate onset and effectiveness the day after. Number two.
This whole thing about you need to have samples so that you can give them away and have a conversation about how people are feeling. Yeah, that's great and all, but where do you think the samples are going to come from? Do you think they're going to just give you the samples for free so that you can go and recruit people and not have to incur any cost to you whatsoever? No, that's not how it's going to happen. You are going to be purchasing those products in order to give them away as samples. And just think about all of the different types of products that they have. If you want to be able to offer people samples of this or that or the other to try to convince them to purchase from you or to join under you, you're going to be needing to spend a lot of money in order to have an inventory that you can sample off of. So it's going to be really expensive. And there's a possibility that you can just be giving out all these samples to people and they don't bite and they don't join you and don't become customers, and you just wasted your money. So that would suck too.
Number two, you have to shorten everything. Shorten everything. That would mean that your presentations, for those of you guys who are very courageous and you're presenting, your presentation right now is 15 minutes or less. Your conversation about picking somebody is 30 seconds or less. Everything is abbreviated. If you're launching somebody new, it's no longer an hour. You only have 30 minutes. People are so busy. It has to be a fun business once again. Now, what are you focusing all your talk or chatter about? I will tell you. The compensation plan of weekly pay. I'm helping Brandon Stevens finally slingshot past every major earner in Q Sciences with a brand new team of people. And so far for the month, I believe we're 6 days in, 7 days in, and the new team has about 180 new enrollments. Brand new team signed up 2 days shy of the end of the last month. And we're really getting the verbiage down with weekly pay, what Builder Pro and Executive, how they make money, and how the cycle works at the end of the week, and how that check is triggered the next week. Most, if not all, of our brief conversations is about adding an extra stream of income in a very busy summer to position someone for fall. To position someone for fall. Those two pieces of advice about samples and shortening your activity of how you do the business are probably the way that you're going to go into convention with a new grouping of people that keeps you excited, helps you hit a new lifetime rank, but also keeps your business on point and you razor sharp. The last thing is this.
A new group of people helps you with your rank. Yeah, it's your new downline. You can't advance or make any money without that team of people below you. So of course, they're trying to incentivize growing your team and talking about some conference, so you know they're just going to try to get money out of you then too.
The last thing is this. What's going to happen at convention is pretty remarkable. I'm excited for Brittany and Nick and all these council members to come in, excluding two major things I'm going to do at convention, which are money based or comp plan based. Every single enhancement, product, back office, shopping cart, all of it, they're going to see over a 2-day period starting Thursday and Friday. Can you believe that? Your council member has all the intel of what's coming at the convention.
Your council member has all the intel about what's happening at the convention. Council members? Intel? Convention? This sounds a little bit culty.
They'll be able to leak things out and take pictures. They'll be able to take pictures and maybe sneak some things out about what the collagen looks like, or the terpenes, or maybe some other things. My daughter Liv is so excited because I finally figured out a way to, instead of taking kids' core in the drink, because it's not the best tasting, I finally figured out a way to do it.
Did he just admit a Q Science's kid product, Q Core, is not that tasty? You guys heard that, right? This is the president of the company. If you're the president of the company and you know there's a product out there that is not tasty, why is it still out there? Why don't you remove it? That's what I would do. I would not put out a bad product. Oh my gosh. You yourself think it doesn't taste good, and you had been giving it to your kid.
Do it in a pixie stick and change the whole bond of how it's made to where it looks like a bigger granular sugar, and she thinks it's the best thing ever. And it's actually more healthy than the Q-Core drink is. The absorption's twice as high. You might be hearing some things about that. It's absolutely amazing. No more mixing, no nothing, and they actually think it's candy. And it's not. It's awesome. One's a probiotic and a prebiotic and like something with like elderberry, whatever Anna wanted to make it with. And the other one has all this cool stuff with micronutrients. It's amazing. But your council member has the details. But here's what I want to say in closing to you.
Based on this video and based on the last video of Q Sciences that I did, which was the opportunity call, I'm just getting a sense that they use children as ways to market their products. He's talking about his own kid and how he came up with this new formulation. And Q Science has kids products. And in the last video, the mom was talking about how she would give some of the oil to her kid and it would calm him down. It's really concerning because, just as a reminder, Q Science's products are not FDA approved. Take these products with a grain of salt. And honestly, kids need less gummies and crap like that and more fresh fruits, veggies, and leafy greens. And water. Come on now.
I've had these talks with people for the last 6, 7, 8, 9 months. I warned people when COVID came. Some listened, some didn't. I warned people when we started using the lodge as a launching pad to educate, inspire, and show people the Q Sciences culture with our silver summits. Some groups listened, some groups didn't. Now I'm warning you again. Right now, it's not about how many Zooms you're doing and how many virtual this or virtual that you're doing. It's going to come down to how many individual conversations that you have with people, believe it or not, face to face. So guess what's going to happen if you have to talk to people again? You're going to have to brush your teeth. The reality is, this is going to get back to a human.
Okay, why was he acting like he was a messiah right there? I gave you my warning. Heed my warning or be doomed. Like, chill out, dude. But is it just me or is it like giving out culty, cult leader vibes? If you agree, let me know in the comments. And also, for some context, this team call was filmed in July of 2021, so that was last summer. So for me, contextually, I was on summer break, and it was very much a needed summer break because that school year had been crazy. We started on Zoom, ended in person, but with all of the new COVID-19 policies and wearing masks all day long, and it was exhausting. So that summer, me personally, all I wanted to do was stay home and not have to wear a mask and just relax and, you know, not be around people. The reason I mention that is because I think a lot of other people at that time also were still keeping it kind of neutral and staying home and not doing too many crazy things or going on crazy vacations. Obviously, sure, there were a lot of people doing that, but I think people might have been not as comfortable with the pandemic yet and with going out and interacting and having life feel like it got back to normal. So him saying, get out there, go interact with people face to face, I'm just wondering if that would have been off-putting to some people, or it might have made some people nervous because previously they hadn't been going out so much. Maybe they're stay-at-home moms, or they, work from home, right? So maybe they just don't have a lot of interaction with people outside anyway. And now hearing you have to go outside and meet people face to face, I'm just wondering if, people had a reaction to that. And if they were worried about that or not.
To a human business once again. So a couple of tips, you ready? He or she who talks the most always loses. So play the 3-to-1 game. When you're talking to family or friends or people in your community, once again, whoever asks the most questions is going to be the one who ultimately creates the biggest impact of positivity and influence. The second thing, never bring up Q Sciences the first time you see someone for the second or third time or whatever, or if you've not seen someone in a year or a family member or a friend at a reunion, never bring up Q Sciences and what you're doing the first time you talk to somebody.
But if it's so good and so amazing and so profitable, why not? Why even have a rule about not even being able to mention it? What kind of job has that rule on you? I mean, maybe CIA spy, I don't know, probably some jobs, but why else, other than having to be a secretive, confidential job, why else would a job not want you to know? Because they're a scammer, that's why.
Show some restraints. Act like you've been there before and make it about the conversation and listen for the pain points of what people are still confused with, uncertain about, or scared of in their future. Let's listen, truly listen. And then show posture and confidence and circle back to that person a day or so or a week after and really put thought into the conversation that you had.
Catch up with an old friend, meet somebody new, make a new friend. At first, talk to them, be a normal person, but secretly start to memorize what people are so confused with, uncertain about, scared of. What are their hopes and dreams for their future, so that you can know how to use that in forming a good response and a good conversation, so that you can talk to them about Q Sciences, the business opportunity. That's too much.
The last piece of advice is always remember somebody's name. Newsflash, we think so much about ourselves, we even hang pictures of ourselves in our houses. It's not like we don't know what we look at, we just go look in the mirror. But on a serious note, we all love the sound of our name. Simple little things are going to make you a more likable person. Always look people in the eye, always smile. Those are actually really true. This is why you'll see, and you're seeing it now.
What did he say? These are actually really true.
Those are actually really true.
He made it sound like all that other stuff before that I told you might not have been true, but this is really true. What?
It now in Q Sciences, a major surge of leaders whose businesses were not built virtually, who suffered in the pandemic, are now rising back in the ranks of Q because they're finally unrestrained and they're out there mixing with people. How was your 4th of July? Did you notice how many people were out and about? Have you tried to go get some airline tickets lately? Have you tried to go to a famous restaurant or a popular one in your area and realize you now need a reservation? Or better yet, have you realized that no one even wants to go back to work and they're still closed because everyone's out in parks, hiking, biking, going on walks? These are things that experts and professionals use simple things to keep their businesses alive, restart their business, or lead by example. My challenge to you is, can each of you reach one person with Olympic cash before the end of the month? Can you help someone go get some of that Olympic cash before the final buzzer rings?
He talks about lead with example. Is he basically telling the people on this call, go hiking, go to the park, go to expensive, famous restaurants in your town, go on vacations, go do all those things so that you can meet people, so that you can recruit them? Is that what he's saying? I kind of was having a hard time following what he was saying there.
That's the challenge. If you do that, I guarantee you your business will look significantly different heading into the Dallas convention. But I'm excited to see you guys tomorrow. You guys have an amazing team. I can't believe how big you guys are getting. It seems like every day more and more people are being promoted, more and more paychecks, more and more success stories with the products. I cannot wait for you guys to see what's going to happen in Dallas with the new products and the enhancements and all the recognition that this group has deserved so honestly well. It's awesome. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, Britt. Fly safe, and I'm excited to see Nick.
I'll tell him. Thank you guys so much for showing up and maxing out this call. I need to upgrade once again. Thank you, Jake. That was awesome. Take his challenge. Let's help people win or earn Olympic cash. Summer is tough, but we are tougher. So let's get out there and talk to people face to face. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.
Wow. Okay. Well, that was interesting. And she said that she got maxed out. So I'm guessing there were a lot of people on that call. And I'm wondering, are they all under her? Are they her downline? If so, that's sad, because you could hear him say, oh, you can just tell this group keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They ended talking about the new products and, keep an eye out for the new products that are coming out. And in my opinion, it's just another way that they try to take over your consumer life, because suddenly they have got a product for everyone and everything in your life. And then all of your money starts going to that company. So what were your thoughts on this team call? What do you think about Q Sciences as a company, as they try to recruit people? And also, what do you think about their products? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you have a really good day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!